Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to the latest episode of River City 93. This is your host, as always, Elliot Barr, and is joining me is the guy that stood outside in the cold somewhat last night to watch the Kickers win over JMU. It's Mr. Matt Myers. How are you doing, sir?
Doing all right. That felt tropical compared to the idiocy I experienced in Minnesota back in February. So, yeah, if you keep on adding 40 degrees each game I go to, I'll probably get bad pretty quick. But could go for one more level up.
Yeah. Are you still trying to get the frostbite out from that game? That was terribly cold.
Wasn't great. But when you pack half the clothes that you own and wear them all, it's not terrible in that moment.
No, it's not. It's not too bad. For those wondering, real quick before we go into the preseason podcast and everything like that, why we didn't introduce Chenier is because Chenier just became the father of a new baby boy. I'm saying it like it's a new car, but he just became the father of a new baby boy. So congrats to him. We gave him some time off so he could be a family man and we don't get cursed out by Courtney for making him do a podcast where he has to go change a diaper.
Yeah, we believe in paternity leave here.
Yeah. Unlike some people up in DC that want you to be archaic. That's how it goes. But man, how excited, before we once again jump into all this, how excited are you for this preseason? Like, where's your level of expectations at?
I'm ready. I mean, it has been we're coming up on 5 months since last time we were actually able to see the guys in a game that mattered, in a game that counted. I am, feeling the energy. I'm feeling ready to go, and Saturday can't get here soon enough.
Yeah, same here. Like I'm very excited for it. I still kind of find myself debating on where I put this team at. Some days, if you ask me, I'm like, oh, this team could definitely be a top 2 team in USL League. When the other days, I'm like, is this going to be a repeat of 2019 where the bottom just gets pulled up underneath us and everyone ends up hurt and we finish like third from bottom in the table? So I'm kind of like still trying to figure out where this team is at.
Okay, all right. I guess that's what we'll talk our way through over the next however long this goes.
Yeah, this is my therapy. This is what I need to get ready for next weekend. But yeah, guys. Also, make sure that you check out our Patreon page. We've been plugging it over the past few episodes, I know. But when the season starts up, we're going to be doing some exclusive articles on there, like our match reviews. Matt has our first one for FC Tucson. It's not a whole bunch of money, but just take the time to check it out. If you join our Patreon page, you get exclusive access to our podcast when they first drop. You get exclusive access to those articles and things of those nature. So just keep an eye on that. But how we're going to do this is we're going to break down each of the new signings in the very first part, tell you what to expect from them, how they're going to play, things of that nature. So the very first one I have is
how about before that we just run through who's back? What are the familiar faces?
God, I'm so ready. Thank you. See, Matt, this is why I have you on the show for, because I be forgetting stuff. All right. So returning players. Of course, everyone knows Akira's back, Ethan Bryant, Austin Kazi, Jalen Chrysler, Nathan Ani, Chris Cole, Neil Vignoles, Zaka, Matt, Jonathan, Emmy, and Luke. So that's everyone returning.
All right. So out of those names, who are you most excited to see back? I mean, obviously there's one big obvious name on that list, but who else?
Emmy.
Yeah, who else?
I'm stuck between Ethan and Neil. The only reason I'm stuck between those two is because I'm excited to see what Neil is going to look like going into season 2 under Darren's system. Because there was parts last night he played very centrally compared to last year where he was kind of out on the wings and it wasn't. You could see he was comfortable there, but it wasn't really his favorite spot. Ethan, just because of how he played last year. and the combination he had with Matt Bolduc. What about you? Who are you excited?
Yeah, I'm excited to see Jalen Chrysler back again. He gives some continuity in the back line, but last year seemed like his, maybe not seemed like, I think it actually was his first full year as an extended starter at the professional level, and I think he really grew into that role as the course of the year went on. I think early on we were wondering who was going to pair up with Yvonne in the back there, and it didn't take long for it to be like, okay, Jalen's the guy. Jalen's somebody there. So I think there's opportunity there for him now to be able to grow into a leader in the back line because the other three guys who started back there, 2.5, depending on left back. Cole started some of the games. He's back again. But most of the back line is new. So having Jalen there, be able to provide that leadership, we saw last year, he can just erase anything out of the air that comes in. So I think that's really, really an underrated skill. It's not, the modern, kind of sexy skill of a center back of, let me be able to pass the ball 40 yards out of the back, blah, 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 blah. He can defend well. He can get the ball out of trouble. That's what I care about first and foremost with my defenders. So I'm happy to see him back. Excited to see him there. Again, obviously Emmy is 1A, 1B, and 1C for anyone who's watched the team the last 2 years. I think the other one might be Zaka, because not that he didn't do a lot of stuff for us last year, but this is his second year in America now, and I think anybody who moves to a new location, much less a new country, there's an adjustment period. There's a settling in period, and now that he presumably knows the culture more, he's I'm picking up bits and pieces here and there through social media that he's becoming more comfortable even with English and being able to communicate with his teammates on the field, off the field. I think that's only going to help to improve his abilities out there.
Yeah, I think another player too that I want to give a shout out to that I'm excited to see is definitely Jonathan Bolaños. He was garnering some interest from bigger clubs up in USL Championship and definitely MLS. So I'm excited to see how he does in year 3 and how he's looking to go. I actually like the sample you made about Jalen because I think when we had him on the show, he talked about how year 1 he was a little bit more reluctant to speak out and speak up about certain things that were going on. Not like nothing bad, but just just your first year here, you don't want to like overstep boundaries or anything like that. So I think going into year 2, definitely being that leader, he's going to be a lot more vocal.
Yeah. And also, to continue on the long, history of absolute, crap movie comparisons on here. Kind of look at him almost, kind of like a, Bruce Banner, Hulk sort of scenario, because you see Jalen, everyday, life is, communications, very, mild-mannered guy, big old teddy bear in every way. You see him get out on the field, he can be a nasty, dude out there.
Yeah.
He turns it on. He's not afraid to lay into you, physically or verbally. So I like that.
I think on what was it? It was our show that we did with him on the very first interview. He seemed a little timid at first. And like he wasn't like, I don't want to say the wrong thing, I don't want to mess this up. But the more we got into it, he got a lot more comfortable. Like Jalen outside of soccer is like a real cool, laid back guy. On the field, whew, yeah. I think this man might have invented some new cuss words.
Let's hope even more new ones this year then.
In good situations. So now we got players that are not in the team anymore. So we try to do this list to the best of our ability, and these are where they are right now. So hopefully if someone signs, we won't know because we won't know. So first we're starting out with Mr. Stanley Alves. He left the club. Hernan Gonzalez, TBD. We knew he left the club, but we don't know as of where he's at right now. Mumbai has also left the club. Zev to live. I know people are like, well, he wasn't with the team at all last year, but we actually found out through some Instagram digging. He's retired and he is coaching out in San Diego, helping out with college players.
Flip back to Mumbai. He just signed on with Bay Cities out in Nisa this last week, so he's got himself a home now.
Okay, so that's where he is. All right. So Victor Flat, he's at Central Valley Flago. Devontae, he's retired. I last talked to him. He's down in Clemson with his wife. Uh, Denzo is at Northern Colorado, who is the new USL League One team out there. Are they in Fort Collins? Is it Fort Collins, right?
They're somewhere up north. I don't think it's Fort Collins itself. That's probably the closest place where anything actually is, from what I understand.
Okay. Austin Avisa, don't know where he is. I'm trying to remember who else. Oh, Avon, he retired. Just got married, so congrats to him. Juan Pablo, I think this one surprised me the most that he retired because I was really expecting him to come back. Ian Atley, he signed with Tormenta over the offseason. Esteban Calvo, as you know, he was signed with the team, but due to issues of getting back into the country, things of that nature, he was released at the start of February. Olex Anderson, he's down with North Carolina FC. And Sam Solomon, he's on with the Maryland Bobcats. So, Matt, let me ask you this. Like, is anyone on this list that you think the kickers are going to miss the most over the course of the year?
Oh, geez. That's a tough one. It's tough. Two main reasons it's tough. I think the face value answer, is obviously Vaughn. He's been a, all league caliber center back. The last 2 years, even if he didn't actually get the formal recognition, we all know that he was, a top guy, back there. So, anytime you lose somebody like that, it doesn't help. The reason I said it was a tough one is because, in theory, losing Ian Aitley, should hurt us, but we saw him for 30 minutes last year, and the year before that, he started strong, but then halfway through the year, we lost him, to injury that year as well. So the idea of Ian Aitley is a big loss. The actual on-field product, when he's on the field, big loss. The actual product, it's tough to say. I mean, he could storm back with Tormenta and do great things down there for them, just like his brother did. But I also don't blame either party for looking to move on.
Yeah, I think. Well, you already said Avant. I think another one that's is going to be a big miss is definitely Victor Flock. He was someone I was very fond of. He's a great passer out of the midfield. He was someone that could easily connect play and whatnot. And I'm interested to see how he does at Central Valley. I think the thing that hurt him last year was signing Zaka, and him and Zaka did so many similar things.
Yeah, I think Neil's presence in the team too probably hurt his playing style as well, because not that they play the same type of role, but neither one of them are the fleetest of foot. So having both of them in there together really
slowed down.
Limited mobility in the midfield.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, it definitely kind of slowed down things. I think also another player that obviously a lot of these I felt like either A got hit by that pandemic and never really got that chance again, like such as Stanley Alves, Devontae, or just injuries just really just derailed the progress they were making about to break through the first team. So once again, like Stanley, Devontae, Ian, Mumbai. And some players just didn't plan it out. Like Olex Anderson, when we signed him, it was a lot of hype around him. But it's one of the things that we pointed out on our show, and also check out Walker 90, who is a podcast that covers all around League One. They did an interview with John Bradford, the head coach at NCFC, and we were just talking. And one of the things that he even pointed out was like, Olex is a great player, but you really have to, curtail him from being offsides a whole bunch, which can stagnate plays. And that was something that was kind of evident last year within Darren's system about how he wouldn't always track back, things like that. So I think they're going to be misses, but I think the players that Darren had brought in that we're going to talk about can kind of help plug in these holes.
Absolutely, yeah. And there's always going to be turnover. Turnover's good in any organization to a certain degree. You want to keep fresh faces, fresh energy, new ideas coming in, but you want to make sure you have that continuity as well, so that way you're not starting brand new every single year. So I think there's a good balance of that.
Yeah, and that's always been one of the issues with the kickers. I mean, it's not an issue, but it's just more so one of the things that's kind of hinder us about how to build this team out. Because I want to say the last time we brought this many players back from a preseason, correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, was like what, 2015, 2016?
I'm trying to think back. Yeah, I think there were a decent number that actually carried over 19 to 20. That were already under contract from the Bulow era, and they're just under contracts that Darren might not have had a choice of if they were sticking around or not, whether he wanted them or not. I'm thinking like your Charles Boatengs of the world, where he disappeared once Darren got here and was still on the roster because I don't think their play styles clicked necessarily. But yeah, it's a good point that look, there's always going to be a bunch of turnover at this level, especially because guys are looking to be able to move up. I mean, you're not getting rich playing soccer in Richmond, so guys might want to move up or move along. Like we saw with guys like Vaughn and Monty. This offseason they decided, hey, I'm ready for the next phase of life, and I get it. But you look back to some of the heydays of the Kickers past. There was a strong core that was here year in, year out. You think to the Ronnie Pascal, Mike Burke, Yambi, Kalungi, all those guys that were there year after year after year after year after year together. And I don't think that was a coincidence that it also led to a lot of success in that era.
Yeah, it definitely did. I think that was a strong talking point that some teams were trying to make. Not some teams, some other podcasts were trying to make about the Richmond Kickers about this year, about how many guys we brought back, and I think that was a real positive point that I saw, that we brought not just guys that were just not bench sitters, but guys that were like positive contributors to the team.
Yeah, key players.
We brought them back. We didn't lose them on a free to another team, things like that. Now, as you alluded to, Matt, we all know, being in League One, eventually these guys are going to move on. They're looking to make the next step. So like Ethan Bryan, Jonathan Belongings, when they leave, we want them to leave to a higher level. I think it's the way how I think about it is like this. I want to be in a situation such as like Union Omaha, where they won the championship. A lot of their guys moved up to either championship or MLS too, if you want to say whatever, to eventually bring into the MLS teams. I don't want to be in a situation where, such as OCB, where a lot of their guys are just in the win or playing in NISA or UPSL. I want the talent that we have to be able to say, hey, I've done a great job here. I'm ready to move up to the next level and keep going like that, so that when eventually that opens the pool up more for better players that we can sign and better prospects.
Yeah, I think absolutely makes sense, because you want to be able to point to young, even more talented guys to be able to say, hey, look, you come here to Richmond, you play for Sawatsky, we're going to get you to that next level where you want to be, and that's going to be attractive to them. I think that's why we'll talk about some of the guys that came in this year. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the exact reason why they showed up, because they started to see that, hey, Darren puts guys like me into better positions where they can be able to advance their careers in some way. And I think the real sweet spot for the team long term would be getting those League One level top of the line. You say top of the line, obviously we're never getting like the real top of the line guys, because they're getting snatched up and making big money at early ages, and more power to them. But maybe the top of the line guys who aren't in the MLS infrastructure already, or who are looking, saying, hey, I know college ain't gonna be for me. I want to start playing as soon as possible, and I'm willing to join in at 17 years old or something, and roll the dice on that. I think getting some of those guys are balancing out with some veteran guys who might be looking to be able to put roots down somewhere. You look at Akira, he's he's the old man on the team. He's gradually transitioning into the coaching level, but it's it sounds like him and his family, they like it here and they want to stick around, like actually stick around
Yeah, you want to be here for the long term.
Right, and again, you go back to the classic kickers teams of the 2000s, early 10s and everything. A lot of those guys, legitimately stuck around Richmond, and a lot of them are still around town now. So they put down those roots, and we supplemented those teams back in the day with some talent that was able to move up to MLS, or some other guys who might have come down to finish off their career, wanted to play 1 or 2 more years before they called it a day. So I think it's finding that balance. Not all young guns, because we've seen what MLS2 teams look like at times, and there's wild variations, what that could be, but the consistency is not always there. But also just not all, not all just run of the mill, third division level guys either. You got to be able to sprinkle in some guys who, all things being equal, maybe shouldn't be here, but for whatever reason they are here right now.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So, with that being said, let's go ahead. Let's talk about these new signings, because I was ready to jump into it for the start of the podcast. So I thank you, Matt, so we can go through all of that. The way how we're going to do this is me and Matt are going to alternate what players we go through. We're going to let you know their playing style, what positions they play, our expectations of the player, and our prediction of the player. So, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I got Mr. Stuart Ritchie. He plays left back, but he can also kind of play center back and maybe a little bit of left mid if need be, or left wing back. He came from Hanover 96, the second team. He had no appearance for the first team, but he played over there in Germany. And this, I gotta say, this was kind of a surprise signing. He's a very quick defender, almost in that same role of how Darren likes his fullbacks to be. Very explosive, very good with the 1-2 passes. But watching some of his highlights, some of the things I've seen, he struggles with bigger, or I should say solid players, so kind of like players that are basing up on him. He doesn't get turned very quickly, but he does pushes up very high, and he's not afraid to have a shot on goal. I think it was the preseason game against North Carolina FC that I went to go watch. He had a shot on goal from about 30, 35 out just in the run of play. So that's a positive sign to see, because it's been a long time since we've had a goal scorer from one of our fullbacks in a game. Well, my prediction for him is that he is going to be our starting left back. I do expect him, barring injury, which has been a bad thing for us at the fullback spot. I'm expecting him to at least have 2 assists this year as well. He's very positive in how he plays and gets up.
No, I'd expect more than 2, to be totally honest. Especially the way Darren likes to get the fullbacks way up the field and cross in. I mean, think about how many times Monty and Cole both were able to provide service to Emmy from the left side last year. I think 2 is very conservative, but so Richie's exactly one of the kind of guys I was just referring to, of maybe guys who on raw talent should be at a higher level, but they end up here, because we've seen Joe Gallardo, we've seen Riley Kraft, we've seen guys like this who have youth national team experience, and they ran into a bad situation somewhere. They got dealt a raw hand on something, and they kind of start to fall through the cracks. I mean, the guy's 20 years old, and he's already got some experience, overseas. I think that can only help. I mean, overseas is not the magic elixir like a lot of people might want to think it is, but he's been in professional environments for a few years already. So I think that can be nice, and I think he's a guy who might be here with the eye towards, hey, this is going to be a quick stopover. Let me ball out, work my way up, and I'm cool with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Also, he's growing a mustache that looks pretty cool. Just gonna throw that out there.
Well,
all right, Matt, you're next.
He saw the love that Bolduc was getting on the jersey photos. He's got to try to keep up.
Yeah, right. He did see that. All right, let's see. Yeah, Matt, you're up.
All right. So next on our list, we got brilliantly named forward Matt Bentley. So Matt Bentley, he's proper Englishman. Loves him some Arsenal, everything like this. But last year he was with Lionsbridge. He was training with the team during that time. So I think in a non-COVID situation, maybe he would have been able to join up with the team last year, but with all those different restrictions, didn't work out at that moment, but it's not like he's brand new, to the Kickers setup in any way. Darren and Mika got to see him firsthand last year, and I don't think it's a coincidence that he was the first new guy announced, even before the holiday season, came up. Plenty of experience in the States. Spent time at Missouri State, during college. I think he was where are they? Missouri Valley, a couple times. Double-digit scorer pretty consistently for them. Was a top scorer for Lionsbridge last year. I think he was over in England a little bit, just playing with some lower level, teams to keep fit and keep fresh. Before he got back over here. I think he's probably going to be playing kind of a combo role, combo backup for Emmy, and but also able to shift out to the wing a little bit. He's going to be somebody who's going to bring a good work rate off the bench. Not afraid to do his job pressing, not afraid to be able to get after it. Big body, he's about 6'1" or so, it seems. So there's a lot of potential there. Do I think he's going to start right away? No. But I do think we'll probably see him as a top attacking sub early on, and there's going to be all the potential for him to be able to win minutes and win a spot, be able to give any of the guys up top a rest over the course of the year.
All right. One question for you. Does he contribute more than Hernan Gonzalez? And how quickly do you get frustrated with him?
So let's hope yes. Because, yeah. I was taught if you don't have something nice to say. Here's a better question. Here's a better question back for you.
Okay.
Who's got the better hair game? Hernan or Bentley?
That 100%. That.
Yeah.
That 100%. I don't know what Hernan was doing with the hair last year, but it's bad. It's bad.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm up next, and I have Mr. Vincenzo Candela. I hope I said it correctly.
I think it's Candela.
Candela. Okay. See, here we go. We're already in mid-season form. Love it. All right. Vincenzo, he plays center mid, but he can also play a little bit of center defensive mid, a little bit further up, and maybe a little bit of left mid if needed. Comes from Tormenta FC, but he also has experience in USO Championship. From what I've seen, mostly of him, he's a box-to-box midfielder, sturdy. Sometimes is a little bit too slow to make the next pass. So what I mean by that is he'll kind of sit on the ball a little bit and wait for opportunities to open up, than rather kind of forcing it. So he's safe, but he's not going to be the one to like break down lines like Neil or Ethan. But he's a very accurate passer. He can also, like I said, he can play either cam or center defensive mid. And he has a first touch that is with ease. Like it's very fluid with him. So my very loose prediction with him is I'm kind of expecting him that when he comes in, it might just be we're transitioning to a 4-4-2. I don't see him being a starter, but he's going to be a very important part to this team.
Yeah, I think that's real. Probably kind of a utility guy in the midfield.
Yeah. That's what I can see. I don't see him being like a starter. Like, obviously, over the course of the year, injuries and fixture congestion, things like that. He might get to start here or there, but he's going to have a lot more substitute appearances coming on maybe like 60th, 70th minute than starting for me.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
Yeah. All right, Matt, I'll pass it on to you, buddy.
All right, who we got up next? Up next, we got here's my opportunity to struggle with pronunciation. Leonardo Baima, maybe.
I'm gonna go with that.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like on the YouTubes I watched of him. So he's a new signing from Argentina. So dipping back into that well once again. He is well traveled in his career. So he's bounced around the Argentine lower leagues, quite a bit. Came up in the Boca system, and that's great. Great training ground, if nothing else. So we're balancing out the Buenos Aires influence, in the squad. We had Zaka, who's hardcore river, and I think that's where Emmy's allegiances are. I don't even know if he played for them or not, but we're getting one of the other big dog in town. He covered in Richmond now as well, but he's bounced around everywhere else. But he also had a little stopover in Croatia, so he's had some experience playing away from home before. I think that's probably something to be said for that, very least. Let me ask you, Elliot, when you think of a guy named Leo from Argentina, what's probably one of the first traits you might think of?
Very hard to get off the ball. Scores a lot. Very hard to get off the ball.
Okay. Well, one of those two I saw in the in the videos. I didn't see a ton of the goal scoring. It looks like he's very tidy on the ball. Also looks like like that other guy that we've all heard of. Heavily left-footed. Like right foot is there to balance, and that might be about it from what I was seeing on online so far. Not necessarily a bad thing, but he looks to be able to pick out passes most of the time. He's not afraid to shoot it from distance. He's got a nice free kick that he can be able to bring forth with everything. Doesn't look like the quickest guy of all time, so I don't know. Not sure where exactly in the team he's going to fit the best. Like he can probably play wide left as in that Bolaños role, but he's not going to be the same type of guy out there at all. It might be more in like the Neil type role of kind of connector, creator, sort of situation in midfield. But I think the potential is there. I think part of it's going to be how quickly is he able to get to fitness. How is he able to adjust to the kind of unique, up and down physicality that League One often brings. But there's promise there. I think we're going to see him start off as maybe a top reserve, and then we'll see where that takes us.
Yeah. First of all, I need to figure out how is Derek getting all these Argentinians in, and does Richmond need to put in a name change to River Plate Richmond? Because that's what it seems like we're kind of.
I don't think Leo's going to be down for that.
No, he's probably not. But I think he's outnumbered with Terzaki. Terzaki and Zaka both being there. But I mean, it's cool to see another Argentinian in this squad.
Well, like we said last year, next alternate jersey, light blue and white stripes.
Probably so. Yeah,
that can unify the crew.
That would be kind of cool to see. We're also going to talk about the jerseys later on.
Yeah. The other thing I learned through the research of we're just going to call him Leo.
Yeah.
Even in Argentina, people who make YouTube highlight clips like to use the worst music possible to lay over all the clips.
How many times did you get the blurry video? You were like, is it my computer or is it just the video quality?
Wasn't great. Some of the other guys, especially some of the younger guys we'll talk about coming in, it looked like they were doing their own videos and they were being a lot more helpful with pointing at, providing little arrows or spotlights on who they were. On this one.
No, it's just there. All right. So I'm next, and I have the guy that I'm very high on and I'm very excited to see is Mr. Dakota Bar Nathan. He played center back for FC Tucson last year, that team that infamously knocked us out of the playoff race. But, and Matt, when I ask you this question, I want your natural reaction to it. Do you think he's the best center back Richmond has picked up since it's been in USL League One?
No.
Okay. So
I don't think he's the best center back we picked up from Tucson since we've been in League One.
So okay, so I say this. I think he is just based on, if you look at the last center backs that we've picked up in USL League One. I know obviously Calvin, Jalen, Nathan Ani. I think Dakota comes in as the most versatile center back and the one able to play the most variation of positions. Where Kyle wasn't moving into the midfield. Don't get me wrong, Kyle was an excellent center back and great captain. I wish he would have stayed more than just 1 year with us. But I think with Dakota, I think there's an opportunity for Darren to kind of, I don't know. I know we talked a lot about like a back five or a back three, but then to also have him move more into the CDM spot where you can push Zalkov like we saw in last night's preseason game. That's why I kind of make that distinction of he might be the best center back pickup that we have because it just shows that Darren is looking to change things up a little bit.
I mean, I hope you're right, because that would be great for the team if he ends up being, the best center back signing we've had. But I think we're underrating what Kyle Venter, brought. He had a lot of experience. He was, getting all league accolades coming in. I mean, Dakota, I think, is going to be a really good fit for this team and make a good impact. I don't think he's coming in at this, same level of recognition, that Venter had.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay though. The other good thing about Dakota is he went to VCU, so he's coming back to Richmond. So he's familiar with the area. He's familiar with kind of the infrastructure of what's around already. He's got USL experience because he played. I think he was Sporting 2, and he's bounced around a couple different teams. So he's got that good veteran presence in the back, which there's a lot to be said for that, especially with again, we're going to be talking about a lot of young guys today, being able to balance that out a little bit. So yeah, I would love for us to look back at the end of the year and I'm like, you know what, Elliot? You were dead on about Dakota.
I hope I am. Just to finish out with him, the last scouting report I had was he's very good in the air, but he's not great at it. Like it's not something that is his key skill set. Like Jalen wins those headers. That's Jalen's skill set. Dakota's a little bit better of having the ball on the ground, playing it with the 1-2s, cutting out those opportunities. So my prediction for him is that he's going to share a lot. How can I put this? He's going to play a lot of minutes at CDM, but he's mainly going to be the center back. So he's gonna have a couple of minutes at CDM. Might start 2 games at CDM, but the majority of his time playing is going to be center back.
Seems reasonable.
Yeah. So I'll let you go on and get the next one, buddy.
All right. Next up, we got Stephen Payne. This guy is going to be your right back this year. 25 right now. I'm not doing the math right. I don't know if he's remembering if he's had his birthday yet or not, but I believe he's in 97. So 24, 25 years old. He's been playing the last few years over in Europe, various, lower league Portuguese, teams. He's, spent 1 year in the college system, UCLA, before that. So he's bounced around a little bit, but again, it's looking, coming to Richmond to be able to kind of re-kickstart the career domestically, had dalliance overseas, coming back ready to go. Like I said, I have no doubt in my mind he is the starting right back for this season. He's quick. I don't know if I'd necessarily say he's fast based off of what I've seen of him so far, but he's quick, and I think I'm okay with quick in the back line because you just need there's little short bursts. He looks like he's a very solid positional defender who can be able to help out with making some recovery tackles if he needs to be able to bail out a teammate, something like that. Hopefully we don't see that too often because we don't need to see it, but it's good to see that in some of his various clips that are out there that's something that has been highlighted, that has been focused upon quite a bit. So I think we're going to see out of Payne a lot more of a offensive contribution than we saw from the Calvo edition of right back, but maybe not as much as we saw from the Antley edition of right back in the Darren system. So he's about 5'9", 5'10", somewhere around there. So he's got decent size, but he's not huge or anything. So I think pretty standard for an outside back in general. But yeah, another guy who's coming in looking to be able to make an impact, and I would be stunned if he's not a regular throughout the whole year.
Right. I just also want to apologize if you heard my phone vibrating. That just means Jamaica has further crushed my hopes and dreams.
Why stop now?
Yeah, they're just doing it on purpose at this point now. So back to who we were talking about, Mr. Stephen Payne. I want to ask you this: do you think there's any possibility we could see him like scoot up to like right mid?
I mean, I think there's probably the possibility he could do it, but I think the question is, what do you gain out of that versus what you would lose with not having him at right back then?
Okay, sure. All right, yeah.
Right.
So that's very true.
Yeah, so it's not a matter of does he have the skill set; it's more of the opportunity cost, versus of who would he displace, moving up the line a little bit, and then who would backfill him, and
yeah, that's true. That is very true. All right. So next I have Mr. Christian Molina. He's a right man coming from the overlords of USL League One, Union Omaha. He can also play a little bit of central mid. What I've seen from him so far, and talking to a couple of Union Omaha supporters last year, he is a versatile midfielder. He can play all across the midfield spots. So pretty much left, right, or centrally. He does like to get off the ball. He is a little hard to get off it, but some of the cons it gets him is that he gets lost in transition play, and that was something last year. Matt, I felt like I was harping on a lot last year of like transitional defense, of how we would just get lost in plays, and that's something that I've seen him struggle with this year. So that's definitely something he has to grow into. He's a player that I think is a project player. I think he's really brought in to really I kind of looking towards year 2 if he's still on the team around next year. I don't think he starts a game this year. Maybe a Open Cup game against a lesser opponent. But outside of that, I think there's going to be a lot of substitute appearances in the late 80th minute here and there, but I don't see him playing a whole bunch of minutes this year. What do you think about him, Matt?
Yeah, I think he's definitely more the reserve level, and I think he's probably fighting guys like Luke, for reserve minutes.
Yeah.
Right now, and I think Luke is going to naturally have the upper hand on that because he's been with Darren for 3 years now. He knows the system. He knows exactly what Darren's looking for, what he wants, all that kind of stuff. I think the biggest thing Molina will be able to bring to the team is championship culture. All right, he's been around. He's seen what it takes to be able to win at this level, and hopefully he can be able to bring some of that insight to the team. It might not be in the role that he ideally wants. I mean, who wouldn't want to start? But that's a good way to be able to really ingratiate yourself into the goodwill of the coaching staff.
Yeah, that's very true. I don't know. I'm not trying to be down on him. I don't see him breaking through. It just seems like there's too many people in front of him at core positions that he plays that he's going to break through. So, I mean, we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, look, everybody has different roles. Like, not everybody's going to be able to come in and play, start 27 games and play every single week necessarily. And when you're on the early part of your career, you might have to realize that if you're not the guy on the field, how can you be the guy off the field?
Yeah, that's very true. Very true. All right, Matt, I'll let you go next, sir.
All right. So next on my list, Eli Mumford. He's a youngin'. He's I think just turned 18. Picked him up from North Carolina Youth, and I don't think he's going to play all year. He's on an academy contract. I think he's here to get the experience. I think he's here to be able to help out in training. And I think if he sees the field, things have gone terribly wrong for us. That's no ill meant towards Eli in any way, but he's behind Akira. I got to imagine he's behind Austin Causey. Got to imagine he's behind another guy we're going to talk about shortly. And again, you're 18 years old. No shame in that whatsoever. Being able to train around professionals, guys who have been through it all for years, including a guy who watched growing up when Akira was with North Carolina, being able to come up here and train with him now, great outcome for him.
Yeah, and we took a goalkeeper off our rivals. Not bad in my book. I'll take it. Yeah. I'll be shocked if he gets any minutes at all. I'll be shocked.
Yeah. And again, totally okay.
So yeah, fine with me. All right. So I'm up next, and I'm gonna take Chandler O'Dwyer. He's a central midfielder coming from USL League Two champion Des Moines Menace. You might have heard of this team because they're also in the US Open Cup. They just played against Minneapolis City. We're wishing one there, but it's kind of cool because this is the second Des Moines Menace player that we have on the team. Matt, can you name the other one?
I think we might have talked to him a couple weeks ago. Is it Mr. Jonathan Bolaños?
Definitely is. It is him. He is the other Des Moines Menace player on this roster, but Chandler also played at Christian Brothers University. And the thing about him, I really like him a lot. He plays this deep lining midfielder, almost like Zaka, and I've seen this in the preseason games. He loves putting the ball out into the channels. So what he'll do is he'll find an opportunity in space or pockets of space, and he'll see one of the fullbacks making a run, and he'll just kind of just chip it in behind, almost in that sweet spot between the team's opposition winger and their fullback, and put it right on their foot. I think the only downside to him is just he is a little wiry. His frame is a little bit small, but I think with him being first year as a true professional, and I also think with him also being around players like Zuckerberg, like Ethan, it's weird to talk about Ethan as like this veteran, and the kid's only 20, but he is. I think he'll add a little bit of muscle. So don't be surprised if you see Connor by the end of the year, a little bit bulked up. Not like super bulked up, not like Barry Bonds or anything like that. But I'm expecting from him this year. He'll make a lot of substitute appearances. I also think he will score a banger. I think he'll score one goal that we'll look back on and be like, all right, this might be goal of the season worthy for our end of the year show. Okay.
So here's what I like most about Chandler coming in. So yeah, he's got the Des Moines experience. He has his college ball experience, all that stuff. Think back a couple years. What was one thing that drove us nuts about the midfield a lot of times?
They were just easily bypassed. Not a lot of progressive passes forward.
Physically, what drove us nuts about the midfield a few years ago?
Oh, they just got beaten off the ball so easily.
Yeah, they were tiny.
Yeah,
Chandler, not tiny. He's like 6'2" or something. So he can give us a nice frame in there. So if we need to be able to shut something down into the game, he can be able to help cut out long balls, help out Jalen and Dakota or Ani or whoever's back there with some of that. So you said he's wiry, but at least he's wiry with some height on him and not wiry and maxing out at 5'4" like we've had a ton of midfielders do in the past.
that's true.
I like that about him. Again, you're doing a little bit of background on his time at Christian Brothers, his time at UMass before that. He contributes. He's seen him score some goals. Most of them were with his head. Not mad at that in any way. I think he can definitely help out in the midfield, and like you said, be able to learn from Zach and some of the guys.
Yeah. So it's gonna be interesting to see. I think he'll definitely he'll get a few minutes here and there. Maybe take it off Neil and go to that more famed 4-3-3, a little bit more defensive, things like that. So it's gonna be cool to see. But Matt, I'll pass the baton on to you, and you are next, my friend. I think we're almost near the end.
We are almost there. So next up, we have Simon Fitch. Simon is I'm trying to go back in my memory. He might be the first true academy graduate to make it all the way to the first team on a proper full-time contract. I think that is absolutely awesome. So the first time we saw Simon Fitch, you think back more than a few years ago now, we were playing Swansea City, and he came, got a chance to come on. It was late, it was like 85th minute or something, but he got, a nice, little run out as I think like a 15 or 16-year-old at that time, and got a taste. Didn't play in the real seasons then because we were pretty decent then, and he was 16 years old. But went off to college, did a year at GW, transferred back, home to VCU, spent the last few years at VCU being a real contributor, kind of splitting time between the defensive midfield and center back role. He's been able to pop up into big situations and be able to contribute with a few timely goals as well. Scored against Wake this year. Got a couple game winners in A10 play as well. So I think he's going to be a solid reserve in those defensive roles for us. He might be that potentially fourth center back. He might be somebody who can be able to battle with O'Dwyer, some of these other guys we've talked about for defensive midfield minutes. But I think he's what he represents is even more important to me than what he brings on the field, because he's somebody who in the press release was saying how, hey, he grew up coming to City Stadium and seeing guys like Mike Burke and Ronnie Pascal and all of them, and it didn't sound like the same old BS that people say in all of those intro interviews. It was like, oh, love the fans, blah, and it's like, okay, nice lip service, you haven't seen the fans at all or anything else like that. That's what you're just supposed to say. This felt different. This felt real, because what kind of random person's going to name drop guys who were playing 15 years ago?
He's
right?
one of our own.
It literally is. Actually, literally is. So I'm excited about that. I'm going to have a soft spot for him. Hope he forces his way further and further into the lineup and make some contributions. He's also a guy who can be described as wiry. Little more on the slight side of things physically, but like I said, he's contributed at a pretty decent collegiate level, and hopefully he can be able to bring for. I think he was also a guy who played quite a bit for Lionsbridge.
Yeah. Man, let me ask you this: how much of your collective mind would you lose if he scores in front of Section O?
I mean, it might depend a little bit on circumstance, but I mean, always lose your mind when somebody scores in front of Section O, because for a long time it never happened.
He did it.
All right,
it was like a running joke.
They love to score on the other end of the field. Last year got a little bit better about that, but yeah, I mean, look, I also grew up a defender, so I always get a little bit of extra love to defenders who score goals and contribute on the score sheet. So yeah, let's see it happen. Let's find out. Simon, pop a goal in there, that end, and let's see how crazy it gets.
Right. So I have the very last player that just signed, and that's Mr. William Palmquist. He joins us on a free transfer from New Mexico United, who is in USL Championship. I've seen him play a couple of preseason games so far for the Richmond Kickers, and I'm not gonna lie, I am very impressed with him. I think he's brought in to be the backup to Akira, but I think he's going to be battling with Kazi for those minutes. So this US Open Cup game that we still don't know our opponent by because of Mother Nature. It's going to be interesting to see who's going to be starting that, because I don't think it's going to be Akira. I don't think you're probably going to see Akira play the US Open Cup until maybe, further down the line. But who gets that first start, I think, is between Will and Kazi. Very good in the air. Very good in the air, very balanced. A little bit height on him, but I think the main concern I have for him is how he deals with rushing. Kind of what I mean by rushing is, like, how Akira has this great ability to get low very quick and get to a center back, not center back, to a striker's feet and kind of rush them. That's the kind of thing I have an issue with, because some of the clips I've seen is he's a little bit slow as his decision making. He doesn't know, do I want to rush him or do I want to stand on my line? So I think just with more time and learning, he'll get better at that. But I think he will be I think he'll be the backup. I think he'll get the start in the US Open Cup game just because he has experience in the USL Championship. I also think he will make 2 appearances this year, and he will actually play better than Austin Avisa did last year.
All right, so you think you're going to try the Avisa plan again, and hopefully it doesn't go as terribly as it did last time.
That I don't think I've ever seen a worse debut than that.
There's been some stinkers.
But I mean, like in terms of like for a goalkeeper for the club, because normally most goalkeepers that come to Richmond, they do decent,
Yeah.
or well. He literally had one game, 2 blown saves in that game, and then we did not see him after that. I mean, granted, he caught a concussion and everything like that, but we did not see him after that.
I don't know. I'm not going to throw out other names of not great debuts because that would just be mean right now. But we can talk about that after.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. When I was watching his highlight clip on YouTube, I never saw him allow a goal. He must be the best goalkeeper ever.
Yeah, that's how it always goes. They never show the bloopers. They always show like, "Oh yeah, I'm the next Manuel Neuer."
Yeah,
I've
but
never.
seriously, I mean, he played started for multiple years at University of Denver, which is a pretty solid program. They've made some runs in the tournament over the years, so he has pretty decent pedigree on that level. Like Elliot said, he spent some time in New Mexico last year. Didn't play for them because he came in partway through the year, but still that's good experience in a professional setup. So yeah, anybody who can be able to come in and potentially push the rest of the goalkeeping crew a little bit more, be able to provide another set of solid hands, can only be a good thing.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing to have. So Matt, out of all of these signings, who are you most excited to see this year?
I think it's either Richie or Payne. I mean, last year, the preseason show, I was coming in, singing, the song of Monty, nonstop. Started really well, maybe looked like a genius first week or two, and then it kind of declined a little bit. So I'm just going to go right back to the well and go right back to the outside backs once again, and yeah, where my heart is.
Yeah, it's not a bad place. I think for me, like I said, Dakota, Matt. I'm really excited to see Matt. Definitely after the goal he had yesterday, which was all effort, nothing else. Wasn't no skill. It was just 100% effort.
Well, for the people that weren't there, how'd that goal happen, Elliot?
Oh God, let's see if I can remember correctly. So it was a back pass from JMU center back to the goalkeeper, right? And I think the JMU goalkeeper mishandled, and Matt just takes on a beeline sprint as soon as the center back passes to the goalkeeper. He just sticks a foot in, and it just happens to it just slow rolls over the line, and you can see the JMU goalkeeper panic as he tries to rush his back. So it was a good goal.
Like you said, all effort. He just took it right off the keeper's foot, and then put the exclamation point as the ball was rolling like a foot away from the goal line.
Yeah, right. That's all it was. So let's go ahead. Let's talk about preseason. Let's go on and dive into what we expect to happen because we actually do have a game coming up this upcoming weekend. So thoughts on preseason, Matt? What were kind of your big takeaways from it?
So it's tough, because you want to try to balance out, getting the guys really together and really being able to meet the long-term needs versus the fan desire of I want to run up the score on all these kids, because a lot of the games were against college teams, so part of you is just like crush them, even though that might not actually be the long-term best thing for the team. So it looked like there was a lot of 1-1s, 2-1 type of results throughout the preseason. They were able to do pretty well against Loudon, who's actually doing well so far in the championship.
Yeah.
So
did not see that happening.
Yeah, I'm not mad at that in any way. Had a draw with Charleston. Beat North Carolina. 2-1. So overall, I think it's probably pretty good. I think the big takeaway is at least we haven't heard any stories of major injuries, coming through in preseason. So we're not taking a step back in any way like we have in the past.
Yeah, I agree with you on that front. I think we did see a couple of players play in different positions, different little formation shapes, such as Matt coming in more centrally or Dakota playing center defensive mid, things like that. But outside of that, I think everything's kind of going to plan of how Darren wants it to go, and Mika. So It's exciting to see. What's your biggest question going into the season, however?
I think for me, I think it's going to be the same thing that we talked about a lot last year. If goals aren't coming from Emmy, where are they coming from?
Yeah.
Right? Bolaños, took a step up last year. We need him to take another step, potentially. We need, goals to come from somewhere else because I think, what was Oleg's the next top scorer after that with like 2 or 3?
No, Bolaños with 3.
No, I mean after Bolaños.
Oh, yeah. I think it was Alex.
Yeah,
It
so
was Alex.
getting another guy who can put the ball into the net semi-regularly. Yeah, so whether that's Bentley, whether that's Bolduc, whether that's Neal, I don't care who it is. But being able to diversify the attack a little bit more. I think Emmy's perfectly capable of keeping on the same pace again, but I'd like for it to not always have to come from him because I think that can then actually open him up a little bit more.
Yeah, sure. I think I'm on the same line with you. Is like goal scoring is my biggest question coming in, just because I'm expecting a lot from Bolaños, Neal this year. I think my other concern is, can this team put a string of victories together? Obviously we had that 5-game set where we won 5 games in a row, and that's great. But if you take that out, it was long periods of the season where we didn't even have 2 draws back to back. It was loss, draw, win, draw. It wasn't nothing stable. So I want to see if this team can kind of put positive results together, and can they get out of negative parts of games quicker? And not just be like loss, draw, loss. Kind of like loss, draw, win, you kind of build up from there.
That makes me realize I actually have another answer. That's probably more of my real answer now that I think about it.
What?
Can this team actually put together results away from City Stadium? So last year, home record best in the league. Lost the first game, due to unfortunate own goal. After that, unbeaten the rest of the year at home. Definitely want that to continue. Like, don't get me wrong. Not interested in losing home games. That's not fun for anybody. But the road record, that was rough last year. As in, like, really, really close to the bottom of the league rough, and the biggest reason of why that team didn't get a home game in the playoffs. So not saying they have to run the table on the road. Also okay with it if they do. But at least, getting, turning some of those losses that happened away into draws, and maybe turning another draw or 2 into a win. So that way, the home record doesn't have to be almost perfect to be able to carry the team into the playoffs.
Yeah. I think that's a good thing as well. I mean, hopefully more away wins will be positive than what they were last year. Because we definitely are going to need them if we're going to make a playoff push. So let me ask you this: since we just broke through this whole entire roster, which player do you think is going to have a breakout season this year, given new signing or already on the roster?
I think breakout player of the year will be is Neal too established to be breakout?
No, because I actually him and Bolaños are my 2 breakout.
Yeah, I think he's ready to take the next step and kind of be that midfield maestro that we were hearing a lot of hype about when he came to town last year.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be very interesting to see, because I'm expecting a lot from him. If he plays a lot more centrally, like we saw in the preseason games, I think his combination play with Emmy and Bolaños is going to be on a whole nother level. Definitely second year with them is going to be different.
And your call on this? Are you also going Neal, or are you going somewhere else?
I'm going Neal.
All right.
I'm going Neal. Like I said, I think I said it on Walking 90. I think I had Neal as the assist leader for this year.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh God, if he does become the assist leader, like, I have no problem with him. Like, all right, guys, I'm out. I have no problem.
Yeah, we'll deal with that if it happens.
Yeah, true. All right. Make sure I'm following the script right. So, in league news, we do have a couple of new teams. For the first time ever, this league is completely independent. It's been a long time since a league outside of MLS has been, well, not outside of, well, a USL league has been completely independent. Um, we got Northern Colorado coming in, Central Fuego, Charlotte dropped down from the USL Championship. So that's 11 teams. We played everyone 3 times, so it's a more balanced roster. Balanced schedule. U.S. Open Cup opponent, we still don't know yet because the game between Lynchburg and Nova FC, which I'm glad I did not go to that game because I was really, really close to going. Got 2 lightning delays and is postponed to March 30th. So if you're going to the Meet the Team event coming up soon, you actually can watch them play. They play at 4:00 on ESPN Plus. You can see them play then. Any news from you, Matt? What do you think?
In terms
Any
of the
news
Open Cup,
anywhere?
or
Open Cup. Like, what do you think about it? What are you expecting? Who do you want to see us play? Let me ask you that.
so Open Cup. So if Lynchburg wins, we get to play them at City Stadium on, I think it's the 5th or the 6th, one of those 2 dates.
Yeah, one of those 2.
So who doesn't love a home game in the Open Cup, right? I think those are usually really fun, especially against the small teams because there's not a big crowd, so you can really hear the guys and you can really get on the other team even easier at that moment. So those are always fun. If Nova wins, kickers are coming up to Leesburg, for a midweek game. So not as easy for most people to get to. Much easier for me to get to. But it might cause a little bit of other trouble. Traveling, weird things can happen sometimes. Might be that little bit of extra wear and tear that we really don't need early in the season. So I think self-interest aside, I think I'd rather see Lynchburg. But either way, these are both teams based off what I saw in a little bit of that stream that the kicker should beat. And because really that's going to get us to the goal of getting to face, championship or hopefully MLS opposition in the near future. Realistically, the target is being able to get an MLS team at home. That's the ideal outcome out of all this. So, and depending on what the next round brings us, if it's not an MLS team, give me another amateur team.
Yeah.
Playing a championship team does nothing for me. Like it's not gonna be like, ooh, wow, we get to play the River Hounds. Oh, I don't care.
I don't care about that. For me personally, I'm on a different side of this. I want to go up to Nova. I do. I want to see this team on the road play a US Open Cup game because it's been so long. But I kind of equated to when we played Lionsbridge. It was kind of cool walking in there as the bigger team and just that spectacle of it. And I think it keeps the guys a little bit more focused. I am so scarred by what happened against Christos FC that I don't want these guys to be complacent and just be like, oh, we got this. We can win this game easily at home and kind of lie on their laurels. Like, if you're on the road, you got to focus. So we'll see. It'll be interesting to see how this team does in the US Open Cup. When we find out, we'll find out at the same time as you guys, and we might have a written article or 2 about them. But before we hop into our way too early season predictions, things like that, just real quick plug in again. For the Tucson preview we're going to do is actually only going to be for the Patreon subscribers. People that are not subscribed to the Patreon, I want you to know any part of this podcast you can still listen to. It might be a day or 2 later, but for Patreon, those who join the Patreon, we want to give them the little perks because they're paying the bills for this podcast. Ain't that right, Matt?
No, yep.
Yeah.
Elliot's got to pay me. Elliot's got to pay me somehow.
Yeah, exactly. I can't keep paying Matt and hugs and compliments. So if you join the Patreon, you will get access to that Tucson preview first before anyone else, and that's actually what we're gonna do at the end. But Matt, before we get to that Tucson preview, what is your early season prediction for the Richmond Kickers?
I think that the team's going to be a better team this year than they were last year. I think they're going to get a lot more of the consistency and some of those results that were just like really good. I'm mostly looking at North Carolina FC. That was a lot of points left on the table against the worst team in the league. So I think they're going to be able to improve. And the hard thing is with this league is really getting a good grasp of how other teams have improved or weakened year to year, because let's be honest, the guys who come in for other teams, even for a lot of the guys who come in for the Kickers, we don't know them ahead of time. We don't know who's legit, who's going to wash out or anything like that. Most of them we haven't ever seen their names before.
Yeah.
So being able to just go out there and say, oh well, obviously Tormenta is going to be amazing this year because they signed so and so from somewhere. I don't know that. You don't know that either. So looking at what we can control, I think the team is going to be able to be a lot more consistent. I think we know we have the best proven goal scorer in this league so far. There's some guys who come down from the championship, but we've seen firsthand coming down from the championship does not always translate in this league either. So I feel good about what we have. The continuity piece, again, has been really important. You look at the first year, North Texas, they were a young team, but they played together for forever. You look at second year, Greenville brought a ton of guys back from year one. They won the league. Omaha last year had a ton of returning pieces and supplemented with one or two new faces. They did great last year. That's a good indicator for me. So if I had to guess, do I think they're going to win the league? I'm not willing to go that far, but I think we're looking at third, fourth place, and that home playoff game will be coming to City Stadium this year.
Yeah. So for me, I think I would set the expectation of this team as a home playoff game. I think anything below that, I think is a negative. I was kind of making the same point last year about how a home playoff game, but I think we got more and more into the year. We kind of was just like, all right, just get in the playoffs, like just secure it. I think this year, this is what Darren's third year, right? Yeah,
Yep.
Third year, more experienced team. I think the expectation is a home playoff game. Now, if that's with the bye, that's great. I think third or fourth, I think it's fine. Either way, a home playoff game in front of Section O would be amazing. I think the biggest thing we've just been talking about is what does Darren plan to look like? Like, who's going to be the next one to score more than 3 goals in a year? Who's going to be the one to provide the assist? Who's going to take over the armband? Who's going to be that voice and leader on the field? Things like that. I'm interested to see how this team lines up, and I think there's no better opponent for us to play against than FC Tucson. I mean, this is a team collectively. I think over the last 2 games, we are giving up 6 goals against them?
5.
I think 5. 5 goals against, scored 2. I think it's a perfect opponent for us to play. And not saying Darren has been kind of focusing preseason games towards it, but just kind of getting this team mentally prepared for that, because they're coming in. This FC Tucson team, we're going to talk about it in our preview, is not going to be an easy opponent to play against. So, that's what I have. Any last things from you, Matt?
Looking ahead to the season, I think it's going to be important to get off to a good start. So we open up Tucson, home against Northern Colorado. Then you get, I think, what is it, an away trip to Chattanooga, away trip to Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
Those are 4 open up, then we get a bye week. So I think it's really important. At least 7 points from those games. I would like to see at least 9 out of those. Chattanooga away is always a tough one for us, but Charlotte away. I mean, I think they're going to be the North Carolina FC of last year for the league this year, and we got to put the punishment on them this time around, and securing the home points. I think getting off to a hot start and letting us be the chased this year instead of being the chasers.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you on that. So all that being said, guys, we'll see you guys April 2nd for the start of the kicker season. Those that are Patreon users, stay behind because we are about to give you our preview of FC Tucson and what to expect on that game. So
Elliot,
yes, did I do
what have
something
you
wrong?
been hyping up all off season?
Whatever happened? Oh my God, the jerseys! Thank you, Matt.
Yeah, look,
I forgot all about this.
even broke out the T-shirt jersey.
I did.
For
Oh
you.
man. Okay, yeah, let's talk about this. I can edit that part out.
Yeah,
Let's talk about these jerseys, Matt. First and foremost, these are the best jerseys the Kickers have done. Secondly, I love the retro look. I am a little disappointed there is no red jersey, but given they do a third kit, I expect that to be the red. But the green jersey is so good.
Sorry, were you interested in the green jersey?
Yes, I was. I was really interested in it.
I don't think any of us had heard you talk about it for months and months and months.
Because I've been pushing this. I've been wanting that jersey. Because they've been holding out. You got to admit, the Kickers front office have been holding out on this green jersey for the longest.
Yeah.
And they pulled it out.
It's a lot better than the last time we went to the green. So they brought out a green jersey for, I want to say it was 2012 as well. And it wasn't great. This time around, I like it. And same Adidas template still. It's not anything, cutting edge in any way, but simplicity can work really well in jerseys if you just do it right. You think back to for the older folks like me who might be listening to this, you think back to his 90s Adidas jerseys, that were kind of that thick polyester. The lining and piping on this jersey make it look like that without it being that still. Kind of adds in those little appearance of those ridges and everything going through the chest and all that. Excellent stuff. And Elliot, how do you feel about the Richmond Kickers being the new kings of the hotness in terms of jerseys in League One?
It's kind of weird. Hopefully we do better than our rivals up in Wisconsin, who have more jerseys than wins last year, and also had fired more coaches than they do playoff appearances. So hopefully we do better in that regard of actually putting results on the field. I think it's just, I think the jerseys are great. I actually love the fact they didn't stick with the Kickers K. They kind of went with the old school logo and kind of embedded that in. That looks very nice, very subtle. The green jersey, why I like it so much is because from far away it looks just green, but when you walk up on it, it's like the little blue lines, pinstripe lines.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about with the fake ridges.
Yeah, so I was like, that's really cool. The white jersey, I was really debating whether or not to get that instead of the green. The white jersey is really that is solid. I think. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think that's a throwback to where we used to play at U of R because it has the U of R colors in it.
I don't remember that. I could be wrong. I could be misremembering because I was like 9 years old then.
Well, I think the very first year we played on U of R's campus. And
first 2 years was over at on campus at what's now where their football field is over there before we moved to City Stadium in '95. I think it's a nice looking jersey.
It is. It's nice.
Yeah. It's a way to show that you can take, you can take those templates that Adidas puts out there and put just enough customization in there that they're still unique and they can still stand out in a way. There's nothing overly flashy about it. It's a white jersey with the, Adidas, look for this year of, kind of the thin horizontal, lines with the navy blue sleeves. But it works.
Right, it does work.
Right. Here's the other thing I like. The underrated thing I like about both these jerseys, at least it looks like this, based off of the photos.
Mm-hmm.
Green jersey got white shorts. The white jersey got blue shorts. None of this monochromatic crap.
Yeah. Do you think we get the green and blue combo?
I don't think that's going to work right.
I'm wondering if they're gonna do it. If they're gonna pull it, if they're gonna be like, all right, we're gonna do the green with the blue shorts for just one game for the 30th.
I don't think that shade of green and that shade of blue are going to go together well. I mean, granted, I am the pinnacle of fashion and all that, but
You are the fashion diva of the podcast.
obviously, I mean, anyone who's met me can tell that.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see. I know a couple of people are already buying their kits. I think 2XLs are back up, but as far as when they're coming to 2, I don't have any answer to that one.
So when you get your jersey, who you reference here?
So this will be the first one I'll ever have a player on the back of it. I went with Luke.
You going Luke? Okay.
I went with Luke.
All right, see. So I got a dilemma, and anybody who's listening to this, feel free to chime in here. Not sure who to get on either one of the jerseys. I'm pretty sure I'm just going to get both of them eventually anyway, so no point pretending otherwise. Last 3 jerseys I've gotten, what was that? 2019, Connor Chinosky. 2020, Scott Thompson. 2021, Ivan Magalhaes. They all left right after I got their jerseys.
All retired. Please don't do that.
I'm hesitant. Who do I grab this year? Who do I pick up? So any insights, any recommendations, send them my way at RVA is red on Twitter. I'm open to ideas here because I'm torn.
That's going to be fun. That's going to be very fun, Matt.
Yeah.
Any last things before we move on to this preseason review of FC Tucson, which I was trying to do? I forgot totally all about the jerseys.
Jerseys. I think we're good. All
right. So as we said before, Patreon subscribers stay a little bit longer. We're about to do our preview of FC Tucson. If you're not a Patreon subscriber, we encourage you to join. You can join by the link in the bio of this podcast. You can go to our YouTube page or hit me, Matt Archinero, up, and we'll give you the Patreon website. Does it cost much? I think you can subscribe for as low as $2 a month. And yeah, it helps us out. We want to grow this podcast. We want to give you guys more content. In order to do that, this is the kind of model we're going with. So with that being said, Matt, let's go ahead. Let's dive into FC Tucson. Like we said last year, they beat us on the last game of the season last year to get a home playoff game. If we would have won that game, we would have had a home playoff game, but it didn't work out that
confirm,
way.
Was there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you were.
Yeah.
Played them in the first round of the playoff game. The team stayed out there. The second game was a little bit better, but still did not do enough to beat them as we lost in the 84th minute.
The second game was bizarro world because the kickers were ball dominant, peppering the goal with shots and basically got hit on a counters. The opposite of like every other game that we've seen all year.
Every other game. God, I still remember that goal. It still irritates me to this moment. But Corfy scored that goal in the 84th minute. FC Tucson coming into this year, it is a very different squad than what the team we faced last year. Key departure is Charlie Dennis. He's off at Oakland Roots. Shaq Adams, he's at Charleston Battery. 2 of their best attackers have left the team. And this FC Tucson team, they come in. I think they made a couple of signings, but no one of like real notice. I mean, of course, Corf is still there. Bedoya.
I think they're returning 6 regular starters.
Yeah, Calextro is back. And I think maybe the
Master Antonio, or dude with a super long Italian name in defense.
Oh yeah, Master Antoni, he's back. I think one of the key signings they had is maybe what's his name? Jacob Krull came from Union Omaha. I don't know if he was the regular starting center back for Union Omaha. I might be mistaken in that.
I don't think he was. I'm
I
looking
don't
him
think
up
he
because
was.
I'm not going to pretend like I paid all that much attention to him last
Yeah.
year.
Yeah. But while you're looking that up, Matt, I think the real key point that a lot of Kickers fans need to keep an eye on FC Tucson is their style of play. They are a very, very, very direct team, very physical, as you can tell. They had one player on their team. I think now he's with Central Valley Fuego. Led the league in red cards.
Yeah. How do you get sent off 3 or 4 times in the season?
Right. I swear, isn't that supposed to add up to like? Because I know after you get your first red card, you miss one game, but after you get like 3 or 4, aren't you supposed to set out like 5 games or something like that?
I don't know what the USL rules are. I just looked up Kroll. Yeah, it looks like he probably started 2/3 of Omaha's games last year. So
Okay,
pretty regular contributor.
Yeah. I don't expect that much to change with FC Tucson. Like I still expect it to be a very physical team, very direct. It's going to be interesting to see how they play without Charlie Dennis and Shaq Adams, 2 of the key players in that team. Because Shaq had all this week. Charlie was hard to get off the ball. So I'm expecting a lot of the focus is going to be on Corfy. He's probably going to play a little bit more centrally than in years past. So, yeah. What do you see, Matt?
It's hard to say because, like I was talking about in the main show for this week, I'm not going to pretend like I know all these new guys coming in to Tucson with anything. Like the guys who are in the league, like Kroll. Okay, I recognize him. They picked up who was it? What the hell's his name? Tyler Allen from Madison. So they were able to grab him. They grabbed a couple other guys who been in the greater USL framework. They got a kid up from Louisville on loan, but he's 18. So who knows? I mean, he could be a JT Kamara type of nightmare, or he could just be a 18-year-old.
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah.
Right. I think the way that they ended up growing throughout the year last year, really speaks to the quality of the coaching that they had, because they had that mid-season coaching change, and Don Perlman came in and he really got the team turned around. Going from basically a North Carolina FC plus type of squad into a legit playoff team as the year went on. So I think he's got all the coaching capability. Depends on how the pieces come together, because they were very open and loose at times last year. Like it was not surprising to see them play a games where it was all right. One week they're winning 4-2, the next week they're losing 5-1, the next week it's 3-3 draw, something like that. They would run and gun it pretty frequently.
Yeah, and that's what they are. And I think that's what gave Richmond so many problems, because Richmond wanted to slow the ball down and kind of control the tempo. And FC Tucson was like, "No, we're gonna turn this up, and we're gonna make this into a track meet." So I think this game is probably the best opening game for Richmond, just because it presents the most challenges for Darren Sawatsky to try to, overcome and play with. I think the key player for Richmond to watch out for is definitely going to be Neil and maybe Bolaños. I think those are probably going to be the 2 key players. I mean, obviously Emmy, but I think those are going to be the key players to watch out for.
See, I think it's going to be more on the defensive side of can we actually be able to shut down, Corf, and can we shut down Kevin Rodriguez and Clixo and Bedoya, that side of things. I think
I was going to
that's where Tucson can potentially thrive a lot more. I think granted, last time we played them it was a 1-0 game, but I think a lower scoring game is actually going to benefit the Kickers in this regard this time around, and I'll take my chances with that at City Stadium.
Yeah, I think my concern more is coming with that back line, because it is, I mean, in less of better terms, is new. The only returner is Jalen, and everyone else is new. Now, we do have Dakota that does know a little inside FC2 side is that being his former team. But I think overall, I'm expecting, I'm more or less expecting the back line to be solid and gel. I don't think they're going to be as aggressive as they might have been if this game is played mid-season. So you might see a little bit more conservatorship out of them. And I think Darren overall, he might go a little bit conservative in his lineup. Who do you think he will potentially start for this game?
I think we're going to see most of what seems to be the quote unquote normal lineup out of Darren. So I think you'll get Akira, you'll get Richie and Payne on the fullback positions. You'll get Chrysler in the middle. I think the big question is who plays next to him. Is it going to be Dakota? Is it going to be Ani? And then moving up into the midfield. I agree with what you were saying. I think Dakota's going to play. I think it's a question of where does he play? Is he going to play in the midfield or on the back line? We know Zaka's going to start if he's healthy. We know Neil's going to start if he's healthy. I'm very confident in saying that if he's healthy, Ethan will start. He was held out of the last preseason game, so I don't know if he's fully healthy or not, or if that was just precautionary. Up front, I mean, bet my life on Terzaghi starting. Yeah. Bet my life on Bolaños starting. Matt Bolduc, pretty confident he'll start.
Yeah.
So I think the team kind of picks itself as of right now.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I think we kind of already know who's going to start. Now, in terms of, like you said, if it's not Matt starting and if it's Ethan, then I think Dakota is playing center defensive mid, and then that means Audi. If Matt is playing, that means Ethan is probably in the central midfield and Dakota's at center back. I think either way, I think that's the only way it goes. It forms a formation. I mean, it can be loose and fluid. Like we saw last night, it was a 4-2-3-1 in defense and a 4-3-3 in attack.
Mm-hmm. So nothing too different or crazy. A little bit, different, defensive setup with two defensive midfielders. But even at times last year, especially when Victor was in essence, he was kind of playing that second defensive midfielder spot.
Yeah, same. So I want to ask you about the lineup, but and I won't ask you for a score because I think that's too lazy. What do you take away from this game to be a positive result? Because like last year, the Revs 2 game, even though we won it 3-0, we walked out of that game with some legitimate concerns. Well, what do you walk away with this game with feeling like, okay, things are improving, the kickers are getting better?
I mean, first things first, it does have to be the points because points are going to be the premium. I mean, think back to last year. Literally every point mattered at the end of the year. So first things first, result on the field matters, more than anything else. But beyond that, I think it's going to be, how is the midfield helping to connect the defense to the attack? Because there are plenty of times we've seen in the past where they bypass the midfield. That how many times last year did we see the long diagonal ball over the top to let Bolaños try to run onto it? That's okay in moderation, but I want to be able to see more of Zaka, Neil, Ethan, Bolduc, whoever ends up in the midfield, be able to be a little more dynamic and be able to build out of that area and ultimately result in us getting different looks into the attack. So that way it's a little less predictable and hopefully opens up some more scoring opportunities, whether that's for Emmy or anyone else.
Yeah, I agree with the same sentiments. The points are the most important thing, but I think really if I see positive moments in the transitional play, like how we transition from defense to attack to defense, I feel good about that as well. I feel really positive about that. So yeah, Matt, anything else for you before we wrap up? I know we've been really, really long on this podcast.
No, I mean, I think it's going to be good to get back out there. So I think I mean, if you're listening to this, you're already almost certainly going to the game anyway. But let's get out there. Let's have a fun time. Out of the game. Soccer games are fun. City Stadium is a fun place. Let's go there. Cheer on the guys. Hopefully, keep the good times rolling at City Stadium. and kickstart a great 2022 season.
Yeah, most definitely. I share those same sentiments. Buy your jersey, take a picture in your jersey, subscribe to our Patreon page. Well, if you're already listeners, you already subscribed to the Patreon page, so I don't have to say that again. But yeah, thank you for the support. As always,
subscribe
guys.
again. Show us how much you really love us.
Share with a friend. Share with another friend and be like, hey, if you're coming to Kickers game, make sure to follow the podcast and listen to these guys, and they know what they're talking about. So yeah. So with that being said, my name is Elliot. That's Matt. And we will holler at you guys next time. Be easy, be safe. We'll see you guys later.